DESIblitz.com.
Hotel Mumbai, watch the film, incredible. It's definitely something that sticks at you. How was it like filming it, being part of that story, retelling that story?
I mean, it's traumatizing and confronting, but at the same time, I think the thing that you walk away from the film with is a sense of being inspired and filled with hope. And I think that's exactly the experience that we had as actors.
On the surface of it, you think, oh, it's a film with a bunch of violence, it's recreating this traumatic incident. But actually, when you look into it, which is the point of the film, to place you in the middle of it, you realise that this disgusting, toxic nonsense going on around us that tells us that there's more that divides us than unifies us is nonsense. Because in this group of people who were facing the worst circumstances and existential threat you could ever face, there were people from every religion, every ethnicity, every skin colour, every income bracket, and they bonded together in acts of quiet heroism.
Unfortunately now, even more than when these attacks happened, this story is even more relevant today. You know, tensions are even more inflamed. And one of the things that really struck me about this story was you had people who came from all these different walks of life who were basically, you know, in a situation where there was no help from the authorities coming. And so regular people, waiters, chefs, you know, staff, backpackers, really had to stand up and be there for one another. And yeah, you have, you know, there's blood still on the ground in some cases. And so it's, you know, you want to do justice to their story, definitely.
Everything that you see on screen happened.
Yeah.
And we were keenly aware of that whenever we did it. Anthony, the director, made sure that we felt in the space imaginatively all the time. So there were gunshots and screams and noises that would keep us grounded. And whereas a film set is normally full of chat and jokes and music and laughter, we tried to keep ourselves in a kind of fight or flight mode. And it was a very intense experience, but in order to pass that on to the audience so that you can have the same dramatic and kind of nail-biting experience that we were going through.
Yeah.
I mean, the experience of shooting in India, was any of that intensity, I guess, eased working with people like Anupam Kher, who's, you know, certainly in the world of Bollywood has always been known as this awesome, funny character.
A legend. Yeah, he's done over 520 films and
Yeah,
very famous. I mean,
he's a god there.
You're
not, you know, actors aren't famous; they're gods.
Yeah.
But even Anupam and the rest of us, when we were shooting, we were in this bubble of intensity and tried to stay in that space all day. And then it's the only film I've been on in 30-something years where all of us went to eat together every night. We felt the need to connect out of character every single night of the shoot. And it's a tribute to the director that he managed to keep that bubble going for the whole time.
I think the fact that the subject matter was so tense meant that, you know, maybe more than other film sets, you know, there was this sort of need for the cast and the crew to really bond outside of, outside of what we're doing on set. And, you know, I think real, you know, I know everyone kind of says this after a film, but real lasting, genuine sort of friendships have occurred. And, you know, it's the people more than anything else. Like every time I'm in, in England, or if, you know, we're in LA, we're always catching up with cast, and it's, you know, it became a little family, so it was cool.
And we saw that with, there's a video on Twitter I saw, Anupam Kher and,
oh my God,
and Jason.
Yeah, like Anupam, like they all hang out with one another, you know, they're all on Twitter and Instagram. Look, I'm on any of that stuff, but I have set up an account to see what they do. Right? I'm like, what are they going to be up to today? But no, they're amazing. And look, for a first-time director of feature films, to have, you know, the trust, but also the support of, you know, these really experienced actors is kind of everything, because you got your script and you got your actors, and if any of those things aren't working, you don't have a movie. And you know, it's testament that they believed in the story and the project, and ultimately in me.
Filming in India must have been different.
Different is right. It's not something we were used to, but different in the most amazing way. For me, it just lent to the authenticity of the film. It immersed us in the exact environment that it happened in. And I can't imagine having filmed it anywhere else, really.
No, I mean, first of all, India was an extraordinary experience for me, for anyone who goes there. You come back to the West and think we live in a strange fossil because it's so bright and colourful in every way, culturally. But to go to the hotel and to meet the staff and to be around the places that these events happened grounds you in reality, a reality that we as actors wanted to bring. You know, you're used to being in films in which you kind of tilt your eyebrow at the audience and you're telling stories that are slightly stylized. And here we want to get ourselves out of the way and let this incredibly powerful story tell itself. So the more we could use our environment to feel real, the better.
How did you prepare for something like this, to kind of approach this subject, approach the film?
Well, like, after having seen the documentary and being really taken aback by this first-hand survivor stories, we spent close to a year just listening. We travelled the world. We spent a lot of time at the Taj itself, interviewing staff members who still work there, other guests, you know, who'd come from other parts of India to meet, to talk about it. In America and Australia, we did some interviews, and plenty of others by Skype phone. And, you know, you feel this incredible sense of responsibility when, you know, you hear what these bloody people went through, because, you know, it's difficult, right? It's you know, imagine you've got one phone call, you know, and you don't know you're going to ever have another one. And it's your wife, it's your daughter, it's your father. What do you say? What happens? And like, when you hear these stories time and again, nothing can really prepare you, for what you're going to hear. You just have to take it in your stride. And look, we're artists, we're filmmakers, so we didn't have to, you know, thankfully go through any of this. But you really hope that you do justice to what these people had to endure and live through.